Well, we're almost in the last lap here at Davos 2024, and joining me now is Minister Smriti Irani, leading the Indian delegation. Mr. Irani, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us. As I said, last lap, what's been the big takeaway so far?
I think that India has made a very, very solid case for investments, not only in green energy. Hardeep Puri has been a hit in the Biofuel Alliance back home, but also I think his engagements with regards to green energy prospects, investments, responsible fiscal engagements in the segments of R&D, more and more transparency in engagements between oil companies and policymakers. That being said, Minister Vaishnav obviously leveraged the digital stack and the opportunity in digital infrastructure and investments that are to come through in that. As far as I'm concerned, I came with the gender flag to Davos.
Yes.
And we are happy to share with you that given that this is the first ever national gender presence on the streets of Davos, what has been fascinating is that we've had conversations not only with investment development banks, with agencies like SAP, or for that matter with Bankers Without Borders to support women who own enterprises, especially the small businesses that are hoping to grow to mid-sized companies, and created a platform for them to engage with collaborations from Invest India, with collaborations and support from CII and its membership. You know that we in the ministry had ensured that CII, with support from philanthropy, sets up its first ever center for women's leadership within industry. And this lounge, in fact, is a reflection of that small success. The government not only through the treasury helps the cause of gender and inclusion, but also helps bring together the development sector, investors, private players to ensure that the Prime Minister's agenda of women-led development is fulfilled. What is fascinating, Shireen, is that women from across trade bodies, women from across political nationalities, women from across the development sector, there are 800 women this year at Davos. All of them are extremely grateful for India's gender presence. The fact that India has shown that we can grow in technology, that we can have a sustained growth pattern, but at the same time we ensure that under Prime Minister Modi's regime, no one is left behind, is what is being celebrated here.
In terms of the aspiration now, we've got the centre as far as CII as well as the government is concerned in partnership with the Gates Foundation. You brought the We Lead lounge here to Davos. In terms of the aspiration and how you intend to build on this momentum and the targets that you're now setting for yourself on what you intend to do with this, what's the plan?
Prime Minister Modi has the gratitude not only of the women in India but also women internationally for three main reasons. One, insofar as women in our country go, the building of toilets has been celebrated and spoken of often. The Ujjwala success, especially with the Prime Minister visiting the 10 crore beneficiary, has made headlines across the world. The fact that our mission to Mars, which many abbreviate to MOM, or the success of Aditya L1, which had a project director who was a lady, these aspects not only are finding resonance in our domestic ecosystems, but they are raising quite a few eyebrows here at Davos. And when I talk about the internationalization of Prime Minister Modi's gender agenda, I think that India has helped the gender cause internationally. At the G20, we've seen how gender, which was at the sideline of civic action and civil society conversation, was mainstreamed by India and now finds its mention not only in the leaders' declaration, but also a working group. So how can we together take Prime Minister Modi's aspirations for women-led development, not only for India but for the world, is what has become again a buzzword here. Just yesterday evening, we had a conversation here with somebody who's a part of your network, who came to speak about children and sanitation.
Yeah.
And when we spoke to them, they said, we never imagined that people like us who are working with kids and sanitation and how to keep toilets clean, courtesy the Prime Minister's agenda, will find a space at Davos. So we are bringing not only technology prowess, but also the stories of fiscal prudence and inclusive growth to one of the most celebrated platforms for trade. So on pathways where money walks and talks, we are bringing humanity.
Well, you know, speaking about the linkages that you just alluded to and linked to gender and gender equity is also the issue of climate and health. And as you rightly pointed out, that's part of the conversation here, that we need to address these as a nexus as opposed to addressing them in silos. What's the view? What's the take on that? How do you intend to connect the dots and bridge the gaps?
I think Prime Minister Modi's success with the global climate agenda and India's participation in it has been also a topic of conversation in many rooms that we've been in. The fact that he has not only made an administrative, political and a geopolitical case for it, but the fact that he has taken his people along, and there's been no backlash when it comes to climate response or responsibility in our country, has flummoxed many global leaders, because they contend with these issues back home in their own politics, and they see that there is a division in their people on issues which are all climate. Secondly, I think that the fact that our climate action has mostly been, in fact 100% been funded by us as India and Indians go, has also created quite an interest that there is an approach that Prime Minister Modi throws of sustainable living, sustainable ways of doing business, and that development need not be sacrificed at the altar of sustainability. That being said, he's also become a voice for the global south and emerging economies around the world to tell those who have developed at the cost of climate that pay up.
Yes, that certainly is the hope. But, on the issue of attracting investment and attracting investors, and there's no doubt about the fact that there is absolute consensus that India is positioned in a sweet spot today. In fact, one of my guests said that India is the good news story here in Davos. But there is a general risk aversion given the geopolitical uncertainties, given the macroeconomic headwinds. So do you believe that that risk aversion will perhaps in the short to medium term impact investor sentiment?
I think what has happened in my conversations, and when I hear people of all nationalities here and investors of all hues, what they are fascinated by is that Prime Minister Modi has ensured that we have a track record in the aftermath of the pandemic of a sustained 7% growth. And as a central bank, the governor has, I think, professed somewhere.
On my show.
Okay, good. That the next year also looks like a 7%. So 4 years consistently for a country to deliver on such great numbers on GDP. Secondly, we need to recognize that inflation 12 months before Prime Minister Modi took office in 2014 were in double digits. So to one, have assured growth, two, to control inflation, and the numbers that are projected for the next fiscal year also look promising. But at the same time, indulging in reform, making his digital structures perform not only for businesses, but also for delivering social justice. And I think that's what makes him a global star on not only doing business better, but also on saving lives. Because we were in rooms where people were talking about the fractured and fragmented world today and the headwinds because of that pressure. And I said, as a very proud Indian, that in a fractured world, India is that democratic glue which is delivered digitally that can bring everybody together.
Mm-hmm. What are the key risks that you see when you talk to global leaders? Things around geopolitics, of course, are front and center as part of the conversations. But what do you see as some of the other key risks and key challenges?
I think from a gender perspective, India has made a case not only for economic investment in gender and in education, health and enterprise, not only for women, but also nutritional plans for children. Apart from that, I've seen many countries struggle with the prospects of the cost of capital going up. Capital supply getting constrained in some places. People are worried about how inflation would hit them, and that's when they want more details about how Prime Minister Modi is managing to balance almost everything and still become a global fiscal icon. I also believe that on these streets I have seen people being tentative about the future of AI. And the fact that India is leading as chair in the alliance globally for AI, all things including research, implementing it through products which help businesses or may help governments. There is a little bit of a murmur as to what the future holds when AI is leveraged. But as Prime Minister Modi says, that we are in a government that listens, we are a government that learns, and then we leverage. So there has been appreciation for Prime Minister Modi's position that let's ensure that there is responsible use of AI. Let's also ensure that if in a world where we are bothered about deepfakes, we ensure that we have more and more promotion of watermarked AI products, But at the same time, he's one of the first and possibly the only leaders in the world currently in office who has leveraged AI for public engagement. You know, he gave a speech in Hindi which got simultaneously through Bhashini translated into Tamil. That is fascinating for global leaders, because here is a man who's putting his political capital at stake for a technology that many are tentative about.
So, any specific breakthroughs that you were hoping for that you go back home with?
There is a breakthrough, but then I'm a complete student in the Modi classroom who knows that you never speak before you have a confirmed action to possibly profess or present to the world. But we in India, and especially a part of Team Modi, are known to never walk away empty-handed. We are coming back with not only interests in investments, we are coming back with interests in aligning more diligently with India for causes that will be for not only public good in India, but for the greater good globally.
Well, I look forward to hearing more from you on that breakthrough. But Smriti Irani, always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18, and we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you so much.
We are going to take a break. The conversations will continue here on CNBC TV 18. As I pointed out, we're in the last lap here at Davos. Back in a moment with more.